Every generation is going to have gay people in it. It always has, and it always will. My name is Dane. I'm one of 3 sons. I'm the youngest of the family. As it turns out, 2 of the 3 of us are gay. I've been gay, identifying myself as gay since I was about 25. As a child, I was always attracted to girls. I always had a girlfriend. I never thought of boys as being anything romantic at all. I started having sexual relations, but it was not something where you'd hug or kiss or have a romance about. And when I was 17, I had a girlfriend, and the first time we had intercourse, she conceived. So my first child was born when I was 18, and we married. And I thought I could make a go of that. And then the second child, unplanned child arrived. I had this dream that I spent the day with a male, and in the evening we touched each other, and it became a wet dream, and I thought, I'm having a dream about men and romance? That was a new feeling for me that I had in my 20s. So here was still a very young man with a wife and 2 children. I'm losing my romantic attraction for my wife, and I'm looking at males and thinking about them in a more romantic way than I ever had earlier. Earlier I thought it was just a sexual thing, and I realized I wanted to live with a male, and I wanted to be a gay man. So I came out to my wife. I wanted to tell her the whole story. I wanted her to know who the male was I had sex with as a child and a teenager, who she knew. And she wanted to overlook it and continue and share me. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. You need a man that's your own, not someone you're sharing with someone else. And I can't see staying married and working it out that way as a bisexual man. And her offer to just accept my homosexuality did not appeal to me. And we divorced. And she's now passed away, but she married several times after that. I remained friendly with my wife, and then eventually she wanted to surrender custody because it was difficult for a woman with children to marry. So I took custody of the children when they were 6 and 9, and they lived with me until they grew up. And yes, for a gay man too, it's even more difficult to have a relationship when you have children. I remember when I first got custody of the children, I had to pretend to be a straight man or else I could lose custody. And now it's so very different than it was. They didn't realize that children from gay families are normal and healthy with 2 mothers or 2 fathers. And that used to be considered really a bad thing to have happen to a child. Now they realize that children can grow up normal and is accepted. So it's very different than it was when I was younger. I talked to my daughter recently about that. I think she was about 15 when she realized that her father was gay. And she didn't know how to deal with it because at that time the word faggot was really big and being gay was considered a bad thing. So she kind of kept quiet about it, but she became aware eventually. And eventually I came out to my children as well. And they grew to accept that now. Being a single parent's a rough deal. And working 40 hours a week and then having daycare and all that sort of stuff. So it was a totally different life. But eventually we came to agreement, and my children did learn that I was gay while they were still with me, and they accepted that. At first it was difficult for them because the prejudice of the local neighborhood was, faggot and stuff like that. It was popular in those days. And I had a next door neighbor said, after you put the kids to bed, I'll watch them. You should be out there enjoying your life. All clever for you. It was very nice of her to do that. And I've had several women do that during my life, helping me out and seeing my situation. And say, let me take the kids for the weekend. You need some time off. My daughter graduated from high school early. She'd already gotten her cosmetology license and she was free to leave. My son was about 16, and I thought it was time that he went back to his mother after having him for 10 years. And suddenly I was free again to live my life as I wanted to. And gay life can be a lot of fun. I'm going dancing every week and hiking and skateboarding and doing what I wanted to do all the time was a big change for me. My mother had already passed away before this became an issue, And I did talk to my father and talk to him about my great aunt, who everybody knew was gay, and she was a very popular figure in the family. But there was a secret they hoped they could keep, that no one would really know, and they called her lover her sister. And when I said to my dad, I'm not the first gay person in the family, what about my great aunt? And he just couldn't deal with that. He just didn't want to talk about it. So we never reached an agreement with him, and he passed away early too. Both my parents died in their early 60s. And yes, there were other gay people in the family too, as I look over family pictures of handsome, nattily dressed men who never married at a time when everybody did marry. And it was obvious to me, and they clustered together too, the gay members of the family, I found out. During those 10 years, it was very difficult to form any kind of relationship because so many gay men think that it's some kind of fairy tale story to have children, and it's not. And it's very difficult to find a mate when you have children, whether you're male or female. I was out in the gay world and dating heavily and having a really good time and enjoying the prime of my life. And I met a wonderful man, and we decided we wanted to live together. So we bought a house together, and we stayed together for about 3 years, and I realized it was not the right combination. But he became my best friend for 35 years after that, and found the right man for himself, and had a great relationship for 35 years. And I liked both of them very much. They both have passed away now. But it was good to realize you can really like a person, but that doesn't mean you should be married or that you should live with them. I'm a slob. He was a nasty neat. Little things like that become irritating after a while. Like we would have a dinner party and he would want to clean up immediately at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'd say, oh, tomorrow, please, tomorrow. No, it has to be tonight. And those things become irritating after a while. And you realize you're two different people. But like I said, we worked together in our own private business for another 35 years after that and got along famously. And he found the right man for himself. After that, I formed another relationship. I was very much in love with a man who just got out of rehab for alcohol. And he said everything would be fine. It was a 20-year relationship. And eventually the alcohol came back again and took over his life. And he lost his job over it that he had for 20 years and eventually committed suicide. For medical reasons, actually. I think he had heart surgery. His family abandoned him. I nursed him back to health twice while they didn't care what was going on. And he eventually took his own life. He didn't want to face another surgery. Another heart surgery, I guess, was his problem. So currently I live alone. I rather like that too. I'm very fortunate to have lived in the same place a very long time and have a lot of good friends that fill my life. For quite some time after that, I didn't have any romantic feelings, but I am dating now, and life is good again. You do recover from those losses if you just concentrate give yourself some time, and you start thinking about the good parts of the relationship rather than the bad parts, and you move on from there. Being a gay man is different. So much of gay life is focused on youth, but there is a segment of the population who admires old men, and I'm an old man. Today, as a single man, I look for very different qualities. I looked for men when I was earlier. I'm not so concerned about their appearances. What do they like to be with? What kind of mood do they have? Are they pleasant to be with all the time? Or are they moody? Are they kind? Are they mean? Are so much more important to me than the appearance of people. And how you feel when you're with them and how they relate to other people is so much more important. So now I look for people who are well adjusted to their life and are kind to people. It's more important than West Hollywood abs. Every generation is going to have gay people in it. It always has. and it always will.